Now, you said this morning that there's no people anywhere else but on earth. What verses that say that in the Bible? How many of you wondered that? Nobody? Okay. Well, that is a very good question. If someone asks you to prove from the Bible, now this is not a rhetorical question. This is a direct, flat-out, question to you. If someone asks you to prove from the Bible how you know that there's not life on other planets like human life, how many of you would know where to turn in the Bible? Hold your hand up high. Okay, good. There's a brave soul. Good. I see. Okay, 3 of you so far. I'm going to call you up in just a minute. Think about that. We are in a naturalistic, evolutionary world. And it's simple for them to say, life evolved everywhere. I mean, at different speeds, different blobs. I mean, I just watched the National Geographic film on the creation of the universe, which they called, the Big Bang. It was fascinating. Someone spent a lot of money on that. And they actually went from nothing to an explosion, to the hot, to the spin, to the spin-off of spins, and all of a sudden it was raining. And, it was just the most amazing movie I've ever seen. But where would you go in the Bible? So I would like you to think with me about what most people never think about. I mean, when people talk about, Star Wars and, all the civilizations and aliens and ETs and everything, they're not thinking biblically. Because, and these are the verses that immediately come to my mind. Genesis, and just rehearsing the creation account, the restatement of the creation account in many places. Then the very fascinating description that 2 Peter gives us, and finally, looking at heaven and who is there. And those would be the streams of thought that I would have. So let's just look there. Let's look for aliens real quickly. So, in Genesis 1, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. And heavens, it defines heavens. It says that's where the sun and the moon and the stars are. So it's not talking about the sky on a single planet of many. It's talking about a specific place where there's one planet with one life that's described, and then the heavens. But that's the Genesis account. Now look how Paul restates it. So what Genesis says is that God made the heavens, and he defines the heavens as where the stars and the sun and the moon are, and he made the earth. So he made this, everything what we would call the cosmos, the solar furnaces, the myriads of galaxies and all that, almost, if you read Genesis 1, it's amazing. It says he made the sun to rule by day and the moon to rule by night, and he made the stars also. Made the stars also. He gives 4 words to something that numbers in the octillions at the least. A number beyond what we can understand of stars and galaxies of stars. And he only devotes 4 words to that. Now, is God saying something there? But he talks about every inch of this place. The dirt, the water, the sky for birds to fly through, and in Job, he talks about how he laid the foundations and how he put together all the layers of the earth and how it's balanced and everything else. God really makes a differentiation. He minimalizes. This is the minimum, you could say, 4 words. And he makes a maximum emphasis on the earth. So that's the Genesis account. Now look at Colossians real quickly. But it says, Jesus, that's in verse 15. How do we know it's Jesus? Because if you you back up, it's the one that redeemed us by his blood in verse 14. And in whom we have redemption through his blood, the forgiveness of sin. It's Christ who so we know it's Christ from 14. And then it says in verse 15, he, the Christ, Jesus, is the image of the invisible God. He is the firstborn over all creation, but he stands as the sum. Jesus is the sum of all that is. Well, look what he defines it right here. By him all things were created that are in heaven and that are in earth. Now, did you notice what we're kind of syncing with here? Jesus, so God, Genesis says God created, but Paul clarifies God who? God the Son is the creator. So Jesus Christ is the creator. And he created the heavens and the earth. And notice, so it's syncing that we're talking about the same event. All things were created that are in heaven and that are on earth, visible and invisible. Now, the more astrophysics goes, we have found out that more of the universe is invisible than is visible. That's what they call the black matter and black energy and black holes and all this stuff. Most of the mass of the universe, they've calculated the mass of the universe, it's 10 to the 36th power or something, I don't know, some astronomical, unbelievable number. But the majority of it is invisible. And look who knew that. Someone asked me this morning, they said, well, there was a time when the church thought that the earth was flat. I said, yeah, the church did think that, but God didn't. God never said the earth is flat. He said it's that the earth rotates, hangs upon nothing, and it runs on an axis. God says that in the book of Job. It spins on an axis. And it's a sphere. God said the earth was round. He never said it was flat. And he never said that the sun rotated around the earth. Medieval church thought that, and Greeks thought that, but God never states that. But notice what God did say. The things that are visible and the things that are invisible. There's all kinds of parts of this universe that are invisible, and now we're starting to understand that. Whether thrones or dominions or principalities or powers, all things were created through him and for him. And but part of what Genesis doesn't talk about, but Paul adds, is this part, the angelic realm, the principalities and powers. All things were created through him and for him, and he is before all things, before not only as the initiator, but standing as head over them, because it says this, and verse 17, in him all things consist. If you know basic what you learn in physics class is that like charges, what? What do like charges do? There we go. We've got a physicist. I know the voice, Dale. I hear you. Yeah, there we go. We have a physics teacher here, an astrophysicist. But they repel. Why in the nucleus can you have like charged particles and they don't explode and the universe dissolve? Well, the clearest for us normal people that don't understand quantum mechanics, look what it says. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. Now, that's Colossians 1, that Jesus made the heavens, the earth, the angelic realm, and, of course, part of earth, totally tied to earth. In fact, humans are made initially from the dust of the stars. No. What? From dirt, from the soil, from the ground of that planet, of the truly what God calls the center of the universe. God even positions his throne over the earth. So the reason that the medieval church said that everything rotated around the earth was not a statement of the solar system as much as a reflection that God sits enthroned over Mount Zion, which happens to be in Jerusalem. So actually, the earth is the center of the universe because God's throne is there, and Jerusalem is the center of the center. It's very interesting when you calculate everything that God talks about. But here is the fascinating portion. Now look at 2 Peter with me, because I want to show you something. God has a countdown clock going, and 2 Peter 3 is a fascinating passage. First of all, the Lord in 2 Peter 3 talks about the creation of the world, the first 5 verses. For this they willfully forget, verse 5 of 2 Peter 3, that by the word of God the heavens were of old, and the earth standing out of water and in water. Oh, Peter has the same cosmology, the same creationistic viewpoint. So Moses had it, Paul had it. Of course, Jesus had it because he did it. And now Peter has it. So they all agree with this, that the heavens, created with only 4 words, actually 1 word, God said, come into existence, but 4 words describe it, and the earth. It doesn't say, and all the planets and all the people groups and all the various binary stars that have yellow suns so they can have life. You know how they're always, the scientists are looking out there and they're saying, there's another one that could support life. Really? Now there's something did you know that it's called the anthropic principle? Did you know that there are 21 precise measurements that make life possible? Here's the sun, and here's the earth. If the earth was any closer to the sun, any closer, we'd boil off. If we were any further, we would freeze. It's at the exact right place. If the earth wasn't tilted exactly the right way, the weather here would be worse than it is, okay? We'd all live in Oklahoma, okay? Not just the people in Oklahoma. I mean, the speed of the orbit the rotation of the earth, everything, even the mix, the 78-22 mix of the atmosphere here, the proportion of water, not to water, there are actually 21 that astrophysicists have worked out, 25 anthropic. In other words, what that's saying is that the earth was designed just for humans by somebody. And to find out there another place that has all of those factors, even the luminosity of the sun, the fact that it is a yellow sun and not a red, not a blue, not a white, not a brown, all the different types of stars that the Bible talks about, by the way. The Bible says there are different types of stars. I mean, the Bible's very advanced in astrophysics and everything else. But look what Peter says. He says, so God made the heavens of old, verse 5, and the earth standing out of water and in the water. Now look at verse 6. Always tied to creationism is this global flood, by which the world that then existed perished, being flooded with water. 2 Peter 3:6. And he continues in verse 7, the heavens and the earth, which are now preserved by the same word, are reserved for fire until the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men. So what he's saying is, Peter, affirms the creation account. He adds to it the global flood. It's not a local, it's a global. Verse 7, the heavens and the earth, same cosmology. The heavens and the earth, he's said it before, but here it is again. The heavens and the earth, which are now preserved by the same word, right here, he spoke them into existence. A very consistent creationistic cosmology. By the same word, the word that Colossians 1:17, Paul says, Jesus Christ holds everything together. He, by the word of his power, he just said, matter, nuclei, you're going to hold together. I'm going to keep this universe together, are held together by the same word, but they're reserved, verse 7, for fire. They're reserved for fire. How long? Until the day of judgment. That's when the fire is going to come. And perdition of ungodly men. Now, Peter adds something. He says, the universe, the cosmos, this, and this, the geos, the earth, geos and cosmos, these are reserved. The universe is waiting, reserved, it's waiting for a fiery destruction. The whole thing, and I'm going to show it to you in a second, all of it is going to burn up. For a fiery destruction predicated on one thing. This is what Peter adds, mankind. Those higher intelligences, those images of God that God created, and there is no room in the Scriptures for any other life forms, because if so, God is certainly neglecting them. He is focusing everything, the cross, the work of the angels. The angels are watching over humans. See, anything, any other life forms out there in the universe, there's not any room for them in the Scriptures. Now, of course, you can make, a lot of people's theology is from the white spaces. The black spaces are the words, the print. Their theology is from the white spaces. They insert here and there. But if you really read this, Moses, Paul, and Peter thought mankind is the center of God's focus. There's the earth, which is the center of the universe from God's perspective. And there's this massive universe around us that God only devotes 4 words to. And then look at this. Here is verse 10. But the day of the Lord. Now, day of the Lord is code. All the way through the Old Testament, day of Lord is code for what we would call the end of days, involving the second coming, involving the tribulation, the time of Jacob's troubles. It's the whole book of Joel is about the day of the Lord. It's just day of the Lord, day of the Lord. It's the day of his wrath and all that. But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night. Remember the movie, Thief in the Night? There it is. Only that was talking about the rapture, and this isn't. But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in which the heavens will pass away with a great noise. The elements, that word, stoike, speaks about what we would say the atomic level. To the Greek language, it was the smallest, the foundational elements, the smallest particles. We would call it the subatomic, the atomic and subatomic. The elements will melt with fervent heat. Wow. Both the earth and the works in it will be burned up. But you notice it says the heavens, the universe. What I think happens is the Lord that's holding everything together, Colossians 1:17, pulls the pin. He goes, okay, I'm not going to hold together anymore. And the whole universe dissolves. So if there are other life forms out there, they have a short life expectancy because only mankind is redeemed by Christ. And only mankind and the angelic realm and God survive this fiery destruction. But look who's in heaven. When we get to heaven, in chapter 4, you've all seen this, the thrones and all the voices. Look at verse 10. There are 24 elders who fall down, and they say, you, verse 11, are worthy to receive. You created all things. So we get the creation piece in heaven. Then you get to chapter 5, and when you look at chapter 5, look at verse 8. When he took the scroll, that's the title deed to the universe that Satan has usurped, and that he's the God of this world, and Jesus is God says, you're the creator. God the Father says to God the Son, you're the creator. You're the rightful owner. You can now, I have waited thousands of years, you can now take back the universe that Romans 8 says is groaning. that's coming. But look who is in heaven. When he took the scroll, the 4 living creatures, those are angelic, the 24 elders representing humans. How do we know they represent humans? Because it says we were redeemed. Who did Jesus redeem? Romans 5 tells us. He only redeemed the descendants of Adam. Look what it says in verse 9. They sang a new song. That's the redeemed. That's humans. You are worthy to take the scroll and to open its seal, for you were slain. And look who's in heaven. In heaven is God, the angels who did not rebel, and one other group. You have redeemed us to God by your blood, out of every tribe, not planet, out of every tongue, not solar system, out of every people and nation. God presents to us that the earth is the center of his redemptive focus, that the earth is where he's put all of his attention, that Jesus ever lives to intercede for those that bear the image of God that he created and breathed the life into and made living spirits and created them in his image. Those are the ones he ever lives to intercede for, us who are redeemed. And those are the ones he came to die for. And those are who are in heaven, out of every tribe and tongue and people and nation. And you have made us kings and priests to our God, and we shall reign. What's the center of the universe? What does it say in verse 10? Where shall we reign? On the earth. Obey him. But he's going to burn all that up and burn all this up. And he's going to end up with a new heaven and a new earth. Not Alderaan, not wherever, the science fiction people have it. And everyone who is not redeemed, who are in heaven, are going to be in hell for as long as everybody's in heaven. And that's the simple cosmology that God consistently, from Genesis 1 to Revelation 22, presents the same thing.